How y'all doing, guys? Paul Ryan, your host of the Across the Cowboys podcast, coming at you again with another day in the content challenge. Big day in the NFL today, guys, with a lot of, with the combine going on and everything. And, just want to let you guys know I did post a poll on the Across the Cowboys podcast X account, asking you guys which wide receiver you would prefer being paired next to CeeDee Lamb. Reason I asked that is because the Cowboys, did a few formal meetings with wide receivers. They did a lot of formal meetings today, of course, as most teams did. But wide receiver was kind of one that stuck out to me, especially some of the wide receivers that they did meet with. It kind of felt like they were targeting or looking at guys that have a similar skill set. But, we won't get into that tonight. Some of the bigger news, or the biggest Cowboys news at least, was the report, kind of breaking report, if you will, that Tyron Smith is unlikely to come back to the Dallas Cowboys. And I don't know if you guys remember, but I believe it was maybe last week or, a couple of weeks ago. I don't exactly remember, please forgive me. But I had posted on here, I did a little video asking if the Cowboys were preparing us for life without Tyron Smith. And since then, it sounded like maybe the Cowboys and Tyron were going to work out a deal. And then that report came out today that sounds like Tyron Smith is, he's definitely testing free agency. And I heard, man, please forgive me. I think it was Foots the King was saying how the Cowboys weren't going to pay Tyron to come back, or going to move on from Tyron. I hadn't heard anybody else discussing that. So I don't know. I'm not saying that Foots is incredible or that his source is incredible, but I just, I'd like to think that if that was something that was being discussed, that the Cowboys maybe were for sure moving on from Tyron, that might be something we've heard. And I'm wondering what is the reason we are moving on from Tyron? Is it a money thing? Because at Tyron's age and his injury history, I don't know how many teams are willing to pay him the salary that he really is. His worth, I guess his name is more worth than maybe what his play is worth. And again, not taking anything away from Tyron's play, but is a new team going to bring in Tyron, who isn't going to be practicing all week, and pay your starting left tackle? You're going to pay that guy 12 or more million, 15 or more million. I mean, I don't know how many teams are willing to do that. I'm sure there are some teams out there willing to do that. I just don't know if Dallas is, and I hate to see Tyron leave. But that creates kind of I don't even want to say it's a hole or a need, because I like what we have as far as depth goes with TJ Bass. Well, what I saw from him, or moving TJ Bass to guard and moving Tyler Smith out to left tackle. I just don't think it's necessarily a need, but some people who I respect a lot, CD Piglet, greatest coach in the world being one of them, he seems to think that now at 24, you really need to address that offensive line position. And hey, I'm always listening to CD Piglet. I've learned so much from that guy. I respect everything he has to say. And he's a football brain, man. He is my number one source for, if I have a question about a prospect or a current player, asking him what would he think about this or that, or can this person play this or that, or would he be a fit for Dallas, things like that. I always go to CD Piglet. So if he says it, I listen, I look into it, and he's had me change my mind several times. So please make sure to follow CD Piglet again. I can't stress enough how good his work is in the off season when he's doing these rookie prospect profiles. Man, he's killing it as always. So make sure to check those out. But yeah, I don't know. I guess he maybe is not thrilled with the idea, or not confident with the idea of potentially TJ Bass being our starting left guard, or maybe he's not confident in with the idea that the Cowboys will move Tyler Smith to tackle and address the guard maybe from in-house, or use maybe day two capital instead of using round one capital to address that need. Either way, I do know that this draft class is filled with offensive line and quality players. Some going to be day one starters, and quite a few day one starters. I'd imagine some guys who are not better than developmental, but guys who might sit for a year and then be ready to start year two. again, CD Piglett's the guy who he could definitely tell you more about the depth of this class than I can. But from what I've seen, what I've read, what I've heard people talking about, this is an offensive line heavy job class, and it kind of fell right into the Cowboys' lap. We'll see what happens. I like the idea of going best player available, but I don't know. I did a video on that. Are the Cowboys in a position to do that with this current team? I also did a mock draft. When CD Piglet, well, he wasn't, talking about Cowboys needing to adjust either the tackle or the offensive line position at pick 24. I did a mock draft just to see how he'd feel about maybe the draft going this way, and it was Brian Thomas, wide receiver out of LSU, at pick 24, and it was an offensive lineman out of Houston. I believe it's I don't know why I want to say Patrick Paul. I don't believe it's that's it, but it's something Paul. And then in round 3, we were going to go with Jalen Wright, running back out of Tennessee. I was pretty happy with it. I'd be excited about it. You're filling holes. You're getting good players. And I think you're, probably, I mean, if you were to look back and you look at the rounds, and you look at what the Cowboys need and the spots that they need to address, you might even be, you could definitely say we're taking best player available at all 3 of those positions. Now, I don't, remember every player that I decided to not pick instead of those guys, so forgive me there, but I was happy with the draft. CD Piglet wasn't, so I don't know, maybe you guys can let me know how you feel about that. You can find that on Twitter, aka X. I hope you guys are having a good Saturday night. Be sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel with me and a lot of guys. And of course, when you have the time, give CD Piglet, the greatest co-host in the world, a follow on X. Brendan _Smith, the conductor of the Ferguson Hype Train, Jake Ferguson Hype Train. Make sure to give him a follow. And if you could be so kind, make sure to follow your guy, Paul _Ryan15, the host of the Acosta Cowboys podcast. Of course, I'd appreciate it. I hope you guys have a good night. Have a good rest of your weekend, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.